correct.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. The problem with going this late in the game is there's so much that's been put out there. You're just kind of all over the place, so just rock with me for a little bit. First of all, I want to get the elephant out of the room. Just to be clear, both of you provided deposition testimony, and in your depositions, neither one of you ever stated that President Joe Biden interfered with your investigations, correct?
The transcript doesn't include that, no.
Yeah, the transcript does not include that.
Nor does it include that Merrick Garland interfered with your investigations, correct?
The transcript does not say that, no.
Thank you. The reason that I say that is because it's the insinuation that this committee is trying to make, or at least one side of this committee is trying to make, is that for some reason there was interference, and my colleagues continue to make sure that they outline the fact that this investigation actually started under the Trump administration. So that's the reason about who appointed who comes up. But at the end of the day, we have no evidence whatsoever that the president nor the Attorney General of the United States interfered. But I also want to make sure that we outline some legal principles, since we've got so many newfound prosecutors today on this committee. Number one, just to be clear, just because you investigate something, it doesn't necessarily mean that there will be a conviction, correct?
That's correct.
That is correct.
Okay. In fact, in our criminal justice system, you are cloaked in a presumption of innocence. That is what happens under the Constitution, okay? So we all have a role to play. Your role is investigative, correct?
Correct.
All right. So then you have an AUSA, who usually is the one that is responsible for taking the evidence. Actually, they probably have an investigator in their office. There's usually an investigator that is directly within their office that will review any documentation that you provide, and then they will sit down and talk to the AUSA's office about recommendations, like what the charges will look like and things like that. Is that not correct?
If that's correct, I've never seen that.
Okay. Well, let me be clear. There is a level after you get done with your investigation in which the U.S. Attorney's Office then will look at the evidence that you've provided, and they will make decisions, correct?
Yes, and they all four assigned attorneys agreed with recommending felony and misdemeanor tax charges.
I heard your testimony before. I'm not going to dispute that. The difference is I've done the defense side of this before. So as far as I'm concerned, it sounds like a sweetheart deal, because I've never pled anyone to every single count of a federal indictment in the first place, unless they only had one count. I have always negotiated, and unlike on the state level, I typically do my negotiations a lot of times before there's even an indictment, because a lot of times my clients are actually turning evidence over and all kinds of things. But the thing is, those conversations have never taken place with an investigator. They always take place with the U.S. attorney. So the point is, you don't have the ultimate charging authority. The people that did, they decided to do what they decided to do for whatever reasons, correct?
So in my experience, I've always been a part of that, at that table, talking to the AUSA and talking about the charging decisions. So that's not accurate to say that I'm not,
So for this,
investigator is not involved in that
so
process.
this time it was a little different for you, and that's why you felt as if something was wrong. But I want to get to something else really quickly. I want to talk about what we should be prosecuting. We should be looking at the fact that in 2017, Trump's first year in office, he also made $6.5 million from China, his tax returns show. The source of the China payments is not clear from the returns. The payments were a surprise, since Trump is an outspoken critic of the $5.8 million that Hunter Biden made. The difference is Trump was our president when he made this money from China, whereas I'm sure you would agree with me, Hunter Biden has always been a private citizen. We've got a lot of other stuff. In fact, it's clear that Trump never paid more than $750 in taxes for, I want to say, a total of like 2 years of his taxes, which is absolutely insane. But we also know that it showed that Trump claimed large cash donations to charities, but the report said the IRS did not verify them. The report also said that while Trump's tax filings were large and complicated, the IRS does not appear to have signed experts to work on them. That is shameful. In addition to that, we heard testimony earlier that talked about whether or not you executed a search warrant under Section 913.420 of the DOJ's Justice Manual. It specifically states that when searching the premises of an attorney that is the subject of an investigation, prosecutors are expected to take the least intrusive approach consistent with vigorous and effective law enforcement. It's kind of what they did for Trump when they gave him a number of opportunities to turn over the documents, our national secrets, that he kept in the toilet. But he chose not to, and that's why he is facing federal charges down in Florida. And finally, I just want to make sure that we clear up something about the Central Park 5, because I don't think my colleague from the other side of the aisle understands that not only were they found to be not guilty, they were paid $41 million in a 2014 settlement because their civil rights in that lawsuit were violated. In addition to that, we do know that one of the Central Park 5 now serves on city council, Yusuf Salam.